In this week's lecture, I will be discussing color theory and typography, why it's important to businesses, and how to choose the right colors and fonts for your client. Color is one of the elements of design, and it is a very important one. Why is it so important? Brands use color to differentiate themselves. Here's an example, Tiffany Blue. As reported by the New York Sun in 1906, Tiffany has one thing in stock that you cannot buy of him for as much money as you may offer. He will only give it to you, and that is one of his boxes. So if you've ever received a gift from Tiffany or purchased a gift for somebody from Tiffany, you know you get that special blue box. So that Tiffany blue, that blue color, is actually trademarked by the company. It is a private custom color by Pantone that is not publicly available and is not printed in the Pantone matching system swatch books. Here are some examples of brands and the colors associated with them. Think about how we associate colors with these brands. What if the Target logo was blue? What if the Facebook logo was orange? What if the golden arches of McDonald's logo were the green arches? They all look weird, don't they? Maybe on St. Patty's Day, the McDonald's logo wouldn't look odd, but otherwise, it just doesn't look right because we're used to seeing colors associated with those brands and those logos. So you can just see how important colors are to a brand. Companies spend a lot of time and a lot of money developing their brands and colors of the brand. How do we begin to pick colors? We have to start with the basics, and that brings us to the color wheel. The color wheel illustrates color hues and shows the relationship between primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, and beyond that. You may remember primary colors from kindergarten. The primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. These colors cannot be mixed from other colors. They are primary. We have red, yellow, and blue. But we can combine the primary colors together to make all the other colors. Secondary colors are made by combining two primary colors. Mix red and blue, you get purple. Red and yellow, orange. Yellow and blue, green. When we mix a primary color with a secondary color, we get a tertiary color. So here's some examples of what the tertiary colors are. Color terms. Color is a combination of hue, value, and intensity. Hue is typically the name of the color, for example, green. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. This is done on a 10-point scale, or what's referred to as grayscale. Intensity is the purity of the color, how bright or dull it appears. To change the intensity, we use tint, tone, and shade. Tint is a color plus white. So we add white to a color and we get a tint of that color. It lightens a color, but it doesn't make it brighter. Tone is when we add gray to a color, and that will basically tone down the intensity of the color. Shade is a color plus black. So when we add black to a color, it darkens that color. Color harmonies are used to create color schemes, and we use the color wheel to do that. The goal is to create a satisfying balance of colors. The harmonies that we will focus on are complementary, analogous, triadic, tetratic, and monochromatic. There are many tools that can assist you in creating color schemes based on color harmonies. A popular one, and one that I'd like to see you use because it syncs with all of your Adobe Cloud software, is Adobe Color. So you can go to Color shop.adobe.com and sign into your Adobe account, your student account, and you can start playing around with it. Choose different colors, try different color harmonies, and just see how it works. There's even a system where you can load an image and it will create the colors based on that image. It's a great tool, and I'd love to see you use it. And when you get good at it, you can sync it then with Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or any of the Adobe products, and all of your colors can be synced then. Let's take a look at the different color harmonies. So complementary colors are colors that are located on opposite sides of the color wheel. This creates high contrast. So here we have blue on the opposite side of orange. Here are two examples of logos that use complementary colors. The Lakers logo here on the left uses yellow and purple, and if we look at the color wheel, you can see yellow and purple are opposite, so they're complementary. The Broncos logo uses blue and orange. So if we look at the color wheel, orange is directly across from blue, so those are complementary. So again, it provides great contrast between the two colors. The next harmony is analogous. Analogous colors are groups of colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel, with one of those colors being the dominant color, which tends to be either a primary or secondary color, and then two on either side complementing that primary color, and those tend to be the tertiary colors. So as you can see here, we have red, and then red-orange, and then orange. So they're all sitting next to each other on the color wheel, so that makes them analogous. The British Petroleum logo, or BP, is an example of analogous colors. Looking at the wheel, we can see that yellow, yellow-green, and green are all adjacent to each other. And in the logo, you can see that we have yellow, the yellow-green, and the green. The triadic color harmony uses three colors equally spaced around the color wheel. The University of Kansas Jayhawk logo and the Burger King logo are examples of triadic colors. They use red, yellow, and blue, and you can see red, yellow, and blue are equally spaced around the color wheel. The tetradic color harmony uses a combination of four colors that consist of two sets of complementary colors. These form a rectangle or square on the wheel. So here we have purple and the red-orange, and yellow and the blue-green. So it creates a rectangle or a square. Two examples of logos using the tetradic harmony are eBay and Google. So if we look at the colors in these two logos and look at our color wheel, we can see that the blue and the green, the yellow and the red. Monochromatic colors are made of a single base hue and extended using shades, tones, and tints. This would be an example of using violet and the different tints or shades of that color violet. So here's two examples of monochromatic logos. PayPal with its two blue colors, and Animal Planet with its two green colors. So if we think about the dark blue in PayPal and the light blue, they probably added a tint or added white to the dark blue and got the light blue. And then same with the green. If we take it from the darkest green and we add white, a little bit of white, and we get this lighter green, and some more white, and we get that even lighter green. So those are examples of monochromatic. All right, let's move on to typography and why it's important in branding and web design. So typography is the art and technique of arranging type in order to make the language both readable and attractive. Great typography is both beautiful and effective at communicating the desired message. Typography conveys a feeling. The more serious, more formal typography on the left likely makes you feel something different than the more whimsical and cartoonish typography on the right. Now picture this as walking into two different banks. Which type or which font would make you feel a little bit more secure and make it feel a little bit more professional or serious? The one on the left or the one on the right? I would say definitely the one on the left, and that's probably where I'd be comfortable in putting my money. Typography also keeps people reading. The example on the left is much easier to read than the example on the right because it conforms to our expectation of serious reading material being oriented flush left, where the example on the right is center aligned. The example on the right also creates confusion with its use of different colors. What brand is this? Much like Tiffany is known for its particular shade of robin egg blue, some brands are known for distinctive typography. In this case, even a single letter in a Disney font is easily recognizable by most people. Technically, this part of the Disney logo is not a font, but a custom word mark. Sorry, clicked the wrong button there. Oop, did it again. So the distinctiveness of the Walt Disney logo makes it stand out. While the font used on the right might be okay for certain applications, it doesn't convey the casual, lighthearted nature of the Walt Disney logo. The main aspects of typography are the typeface or font, point size, leading, kerning, letters, and characters. Let's talk about each one in a little more detail and look at some examples. The two main types of fonts are serif and sans serif. Serifs are the little extensions or ticks at the ends of the lines. You can see them here in the red that create letters. So fonts with those little tick marks are called serif fonts. The little ticks are called serifs, so the fonts that have the serifs are called serif fonts. Fonts without the serifs, like the example up here, are called sans serif fonts. So sans means without. Here are some examples of serif fonts. Georgia and Rockwell, you can see the little extensions on both. And then sans serif fonts, Arial and Helvetica New, and they don't have those little ticks or extensions. Point size. So you're probably familiar with point size using software like Keynote, Microsoft Word, and pretty much every software where you're working with text. So the larger the number of point size, the larger the size of the font. Font size can be used to establish hierarchy, meaning bigger text draws your eye and looks more important than smaller text. Leading, not leading, but leading is the space between each line of text. If leading is too small, the lines of text get crowded and are difficult to read. You can see that here on the left. Conversely, if leading is too big, there is too much space between the lines, and it can also make reading a bit more difficult. So you need to find that happy medium between too small leading and too large leading. Kerning is the space right and left between characters in a word. So this might seem like a small thing. Here the kerning's a bit too big. Here it's just right. Poor kerning can lead to some embarrassing situations. Here are some of the more infamous examples of poor kerning. And I'll let you just look at these and read them and try to figure out what the designer was trying to say and how you're reading it. So avoid these issues with poor kerning. So choosing fonts. How do you know which fonts to choose for your client work? Well, you want to choose the font that matches the feeling you were trying to convey. So we looked at that one example where the text on the left was left align and used a professional serif font versus the text on the right, which had like flourishes and had a cartoony kind of feel. So you want to make sure you're matching the feeling with what you're trying to convey. If you're doing a brochure for a bank, you want a font that feels more serious. If you're doing a children's party invite, then you can use something a little more fun and whimsical.
Alexa, I'm done.
For print, serif fonts work better at small sizes than sans serif. On screen, it's the opposite. It's easier to read sans serif at small sizes. So you have to know what you're using the fonts for. You also want to learn how to pair fonts. Create some visual interest by choosing 2 different font families, or by choosing 2 styles from the same font family. You can use sites like Google Fonts and FontScroll to download free open source fonts. You can also use Typekit, which is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. Just understand that if you let your subscription run out, then you'll lose access to those fonts. So I definitely recommend Google Fonts. They have over 800 fonts, and you'll easily find one, at least 1 or 2 or 3 that will work for your project. So if you have any questions about this presentation or how to choose the right colors or fonts for your client, please reach out. Thanks for watching.